Welcome back to Educator.com. This is the Life Science course, and today's lesson will be on animal behavior. Our objectives for today's lesson will be number one, what are the differences between innate and learned behaviors? Number two, explain how organisms use reflexes and instincts to survive. And number three, how do organisms exhibit different learned behaviors? Let's first talk about what behavior is. Behavior is defined as how animals react to their environment and how they react to other organisms. Behavior is based upon two things. The first thing is a stimulus, and the next thing is a response to that stimulus. A stimulus is basically anything that causes a certain kind of, any type of reaction. For example, there's two different types of stimulus. The first stimuli would be external, and then another one would be internal. An example of an external stimulus would be the hot sun causing an animal to get very, very, very warm, or a dog entering another dog's territory. Those types of things would cause a particular reaction, and we call that reaction a response. Now, there's other types of stimuli that would come from the inside of the animal, and those would be internal, such as feeling nauseous or sick, or being hungry or tired or even thirsty. Those things would be considered internal because they come from inside of the animal. Now, a response would be an animal's reaction to any type of stimulus, whether it be internal or external. For example, a stimulus would be dry mouth. Maybe the particular animal is in hot sun and getting very, very thirsty and panting, and this is stimulus would be a dry mouth. Well, the response would be to find or drink some water. So that's how this works. This is behavior, stimulus and response. Another example would be a hot stove, and here we have a baby touching a stove, and maybe it's really, really hot, and so their response would be a scream and pulling their hand back because of the hot stove. That would be considered a reflex or a response to the stimulus. Now, there's different types of behaviors. We have innate behaviors and we have learned behaviors. Innate behaviors are behaviors that the organism is born with. They don't have to learn it. No one has to tell them how to do it. They don't have to be learned. For example, sneezing, blinking, crying, even screaming. Those would be examples of innate behaviors. And then we have learned behaviors, and these are behaviors that have been learned through life experiences over time. For example, reading and writing would be examples of learned behaviors. Let's talk now about specifically innate behaviors, those behaviors that organism is born with. Now, innate behaviors occur immediately. They occur the first time an animal reacts to an internal or an external stimulus. For example, a bird knows innately to build a nest. A nest is used for protection. It's used for protection for its eggs and as a home for the bird. So it innately knows how to build a nest. Now, the nest, when it's first made, might not be the nicest or prettiest nest. It might be a little bit sloppy, but the birds know innately that they have to build a nest in order to survive. Insects also have mostly innate behaviors because of their short lifespan. They don't have parents around to teach them learned behaviors. So you don't have to teach a fly how to fly. They automatically know that, and that's what we would consider to be an innate behavior, to teach them learned behaviors. All right. Also, we have what we call a reflex or automatic message. A reflex is considered to be something that's automatic, that you don't have to think about it. It's a very simple pattern of innate behaviors, such as sneezing, blinking, or pulling your hand away from a hot stove. Those things are automatic messages that don't need to be processed in the brain. As soon as that stimulus occurs that causes a sneeze, for example, dust that maybe goes up your nose, your brain doesn't have to automatically say, oh, I need to sneeze. Your body automatically reacts to that, and so you sneeze. And then we have something called instinctive behaviors, and those are a type of innate behavior, which is more of a complex pattern of innate behaviors. For example, a spider spinning a web would be considered an instinctive behavior. It definitely is more complex than, say, sneezing or blinking. However, a spider automatically knows that it has to spin a web. But again, just like a bird building a nest, it may take some time for that web to be perfect. But it knows automatically that it needs to do that.